You won Best Bike Film and Best Spiral.
Well, that's amazing, thanks. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. Prepare a speech. No, it's pretty cool to be nominated in those categories, and to have won is amazing as well. So, I certainly feel a bit of sort of disconnection with the films once they're made. It's pretty interesting to kind of see where they get to and things, and things as good as the Sheffield Film Festival. It's amazing.
Well, you've also got the public vote because nearly 5 million people have watched Industrial Revolutions on YouTube. It's quite incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny. I find it amazing. Anybody watches the films, they're kind of they're just kind of little bike films, but it's funny that so many people end up watching them in the end. Yeah, cool.
And can we just take a step back for completely uninitiated? What is trials riding, if you've never seen what you do?
Trials riding, I suppose, in its basic form is trying to get your bike up and over obstacles without putting your feet down. And the competition side, you get points deducted for putting feet down in sections, sort of taped out courses through rocks and walls and whatever, I've never really done the competition side of it, just because it was always down south, and I'm from the Isle of Skye, so I just sort of focused on riding trials, but just in my local village, and kind of progressed on with a few tricks as well. So, I don't really know what to call it. I suppose I do something that's a bit more kind of like street trials, where there's sort of no rules to what you can and can't do. If you put your feet down, it doesn't really matter. So, yeah, it's fun.
Have you never done sort of regular mountain biking?
Yeah, I grew up riding, like a mountain bike. I was always from a very young age into doing tricks, skids and wheelies and jumping off walls and things. So I was never I did used to go on sort of treks with my bike, into the hills, but it was always used for doing tricks on. I do a lot more mountain biking now, but certainly through my kind of teenage years, it was mainly trials riding. I ended up focusing on, I kind of got a more specific bike and things. So, but these days I ride my mountain bike pretty much a few times a week if I can. So, yeah.
And how did you find the location for Industrial Revolutions? We were just watching it again before I interviewed you, and it seems like a completely remote, out of the way location.
Yeah, I've certainly with trials and making the videos, the hardest part is really finding the locations. I focused, I did a video in 2010 called The Way Back Home, which involved going to all sorts of remote bits of concrete, rotten concrete in the middle of nowhere in Scotland. So I use these kind of different websites. I look a lot on Google and things, and I use some websites where people kind of go to old ruined industrial areas and take photos of them. And myself and Stu Thompson just happened to come across this train yard just before I think I went on that trip and he was going away. So we decided to take like a kind of gamble on this one location, and it kind of paid off. Well, it really paid off because it was really incredible when we went there. So, yeah.
I know we talk about it as a viral, and I think people sometimes get the impression that virals are just thrown together. But what's the reality? How much preparation, practice, shooting, editing goes into that 5 minutes?
That one. The Industrial Revolutions clip was actually one of the easier videos that I've ever made. We really landed on our feet with the location. It couldn't have been any better. We managed to just about get sun every day for 6 days of filming in Scotland, which is incredible. I've done other projects where it's, we've not seen, it's just been raining every day for like a week, the whole week that you're trying to film or whatever. So we really were lucky in that way. But when you find that kind of location, it's just about dreaming up the kind of lines and then persevering with what you first start out, to do. So, nothing happens first time, and a lot of things end up being crashes in the beginning as well. I was actually injured during the whole making of that, film as well, with like, I had some kind of phantom pain or loss of power in my left leg. So I was kind of struggling a lot with this kind of injury during the making of it. But in the end, it kind of worked out, and I'm really happy with the results, for sure.
So you said you loss of power in your left knee?
And the left leg. Well,
left leg?
I actually just had a back operation 2 weeks ago. It turns out I've actually had a torn disc in my back for the last couple of years. And in 2010 it was back pain, and then in 2011 I started getting real sort of weakness in my left leg and a lot of pain. And it turns out it was because this torn disc had kind of, had some stuff had goosed out onto my my nerve and stopping it. So I've just had that kind of sorted, but I'll be off for another few months. But it's all fine. Hopefully I'll be back on the bike by summer.
Well, we wish you well. I mean, it's interesting you say that, because we've got Chris Ackrig coming to talk at the festival on Saturday night, and as you know, he fell 40 foot off a cliff. I mean, what's your what would be your message to him in terms of recovery? And
well, he's been through the wars, over the years. He's been riding. I think I've seen Chris in magazines when I very first started riding trials. I would look at him riding, and, he's definitely been, one of my heroes of riding, or somebody who's influenced me a lot over the years. It comes with riding. It doesn't matter if you're riding to work every day or if you're doing this kind of stuff. If you're doing tricks or downhill or whatever, you're going to have a tumble. Some are worse than others. I'm quite pleased I've not fallen off a 40-foot cliff. Definitely, Chris's video actually gave me nightmares when I first, saw his crash. But it's excellent to see him back on his mountain bike. And I'm sure he'll come back stronger than ever. So yeah, it's all just about being positive and taking the time to recover properly. Because I'm quite bad at getting back on my bike a little bit too early. So yeah.
That's interesting. I was going to say, how do you mentally prepare for the tricks? In Industrial Revolutions, there's a bit where you're actually cycling. I'm not sure if it's a rope or a chain.
It's kind of tricky. some things are harder than they look. The cable ride in Industrial Revolutions wasn't that hard. It had some kind of girders that you could jump off onto, and I was quite confident in some ways on it. It only took me about an hour of riding to do, which compared with other lines is not very much. The kind of bigger impact stuff where you're dropping, kind of 12 feet plus, or you're doing flips down drops or things, can be harder to kind of prepare yourself for, because they're gonna, even if you do them right, they still hurt a bit. And with that, with my weak leg, some of the bigger drops were a lot of hard work. I don't know. When you're filming, you kind of I tried to think, well, I don't want to look back and then think, I wish I'd done something. I may as well just do it there and then, and I'll be pleased about the results afterwards.
Well, you're incredibly modest. From our point of view, Way Back Home won Best Bike Film and Best Short last year. Industrial Revolutions has won Best Bike Film in the Steve Peat category and Best Viral this year. So tell us, what have you got planned, apart from getting yourself on the mend? What have you got planned for this year, and what can we expect?
I've definitely got plans for another Red Bull project, hopefully this year. This back operation takes a while to recover from. I don't think I'll be fully healthy for about 8 months, but I should hopefully be back on the bike, a fair bit before that, cross-country bike for sure anyway. So I can't really give too much away at the moment, but I'm kind of looking to mix things up a bit and, give everybody something new to watch anyway, something a bit fresh. Should be fun. I really enjoy making the videos, and I'm lucky that I get a sort of real free range to kind of go and do whatever I want. So yeah, it's cool.